So if you want to solve this equation here, here's what you're going to do. So for this particular problem, this is a inequality. And when you're solving an inequality, we want to try to graph it to look at the solutions. So we're going to use the leading coefficient test here. And so from the previous chapter, when we talked about leading coefficient, the leading coefficient in this equation, x cubed minus x squared minus 72x, is less than 0. Leading coefficient is this term sitting in the front. Notice that it is positive and it is odd. So this is a positive odd graph. Positive odds start down and finish up. So what we do now is we're going to find the zeros of this particular equation. So to find the zeros of this equation, here's what we're going to do. We're going to look at x cubed minus x squared minus 7x, and we're going to factor. We're going to set it equal to 0 and factor it. So when I factor this, that's x times x squared minus x minus 7 is equal to 0. I'm sorry, it's 72. It's equal to 0. So when I factor this out right here, this part of the equation is going to factor into, leave the first part is x, the next part is x factors of 72 that add to -1, that's x minus 9, x plus 8. That equals 0. So here are my three solutions when I set them all equal to 0. X equals 0, x equals 9, x equals -8. What I do now is I'm going to graph this equation on a number line. And so I'm going to put the zeros on my number line. So my zeros are 8, 0, and 9. The graph, remember how from the leading coefficient, it's positive odd, so it starts down and finishes up like this. There are no repeating roots, so we're going to go through every root and turn like that. Here's the graph itself. You want to know when is the graph less than 0. So less than 0 means when is it below that particular line. So we'll section this off into zeros based off of this. And because it's less than 0, it cannot be equal to these intercepts. So we'll put open circles here to indicate that we will not include the solutions. It is below the graph from -infinity up to -8. It's also below the graph from 0 up to 9. So your solution set here is going to be from -infinity to 8. And because there's a gap where it's above here and a gap where it's above here, because there's a gap here, you need to use a union to close that gap. So that's union. So we're going from -infinity to 8. The union here occurs here. Is below right here. 0 to 9. Apologize for all of the noise in the background, but it's Saturday and I'm watching my little girls and there's a lot going on. So I apologize that I couldn't get those answers to you fast enough, but I hope this helps.